Hello and welcome to the first episode of the Campbell County Trunk Show, presented by Postmark and our partners at WLEF and the Tennessee Arts Commission. My name is Brad Smitty and I'll be your host for tonight. Tonight's episode will be about heirloom seeds, about how things from our past influence our future. I do want to explain, why is this show called the Campbell County Trunk Show? It's because we want you to pull out things and share it with us just as you would from a trunk. So it's something that you're proud of, something that you would want people to know about, and something you would want the world to know about, because, once again, this is going to be online and for the world to see. Here in a moment, I'm going to put up the information of how we want you to contact us. You get to pick future episodes and the content, because you will get to submit them. This is a true community event and a true interactive television show. We're here to celebrate Campbell County. We're going to travel out to the Bethlehem community and speak with Miss Jeanette Underwood about family traditions and the moss ivy bean. Then we're going to travel over and talk with Miss Jen Hoffman at her farm in the Maryville community about native plants in this area. From there, we're also going to hear from 1450 WLES Jim Freeman about the importance of local radio and TV, and then we're going to have a very special performance by the Postmark Jamboree at Indian Mountain State Park.
My name is Jeanette Underwood. Originally, I was born up in Illinois, a hospital up in Chicago. My dad was originally from North Carolina, and my mother's father had immigrated to the United States in the early 1900s from Germany. And his wife, her parents had come over from Germany, and I don't know if she was born on the ship or born after they got here, but she was German too. And I met my husband when I was attending college in DeKalb, Illinois, and we fell in love and got married, had our first baby up there, and then we moved down here to Tennessee because this is where he was from. And we've lived in this area ever since. We lived in Knoxville Holler first, and then we moved up onto Victory Ridge and lived up there. And now we built a house over here in kind of the Bethlehem area. This is where I still live. Well, when I lived up north, now my dad's parents, we lived on a farm with them for a while, but they didn't say anything that they planted by the signs or anything like that. I'd never heard about that. And when we came down here, my father-in-law and mother-in-law told me that they planted by the signs. And they had to explain it to me, what it was. And they gave me seeds, moss ivy beans, because you couldn't buy them in a store anywhere. They'd just been passed down through the years. My mother-in-law saved the dried seeds back every year so she'd have enough to plant the following spring. And she told me how to do it. My mother-in-law got them from a lady named Mossy Ivy. Her husband was named Hogue Ivy. And we did some work for their daughters who were up in their 90s, and we did some repair work on the house. They were still in the original house where they'd been born everything. And I asked them if they still grew moss ivy beans. And they said no, they hadn't had them in years. So I brought several quarts of beans for them, and we talked about it. And I asked them, I said, well, how did you ever how did your parents ever get them? And they explained that their dad was going to plant a hay field. There was a large field in front of the house, and he was going to plant hay there. And he had bought some seed for hay, and he was getting it out of the sack and putting it in a bucket or whatever he used to strew the seed in the field. He found beans mixed in with it. So he separated the beans out, because back then you used everything, and they saved them back to plant. And when they planted them in the garden, they loved the way they tasted, the way they grew, and they saved seed from them every year, and they shared them with people. And because hog ivy would trade things around, he'd go from different counties. He'd go into North Carolina and Kentucky, and I don't know where all else, but he would make trips, and he would take some of those beans with him, and he would share those beans with people. And there's people all up in North Carolina and Kentucky, and who still keep them. They raise them every year. They call them hog ivy beans. We call them moss ivy beans because Mossy was the one that gave them to my mother-in-law. And other people that got them from her call them moss ivy beans. So I've just always kept the seed. There have been a few times I thought I was going to lose the seed, but I always managed to have enough to get them started and grow them. My last planting is blooming, starting to bloom right now. So I know I'll have beans before frost. And I can them, or sometimes I freeze them. So that was the story about that. It's a golden delicious apple tree. The only reason I know what kind it is when it finally got big enough to produce some. It turned out that we had a sawmill set up down at the bottom of the property, and my youngest son would run that sawmill. And he loved golden delicious apples, and apparently he threw apple core down, and a few years later I found some young apple trees that had come up. So I dug them up and brought them up here and put them in my backyard. There were two of them, and one grew a lot better than the other one, but they both produce apples, and they're pretty good. I know my daughter Charlotte said she wants to put some beehives up there on the hill above her place, so that she can use that as an extra for their income. Natural, pure honey. Not stuff that you buy in the little plastic bear, because it has to be raw honey. It's not been heated, not been pasteurized. When honey is pasteurized, it loses all of its healthful properties. It destroys the healthful properties. Honey is naturally antibiotic, antiviral. So I've got honey that we had taken from the hives before 2005. I still got some. It is black as could be, but it's still sweet, and it's honey. And it just doesn't ruin. It doesn't go away. I saw on television that they found honey in some of the pharaoh's tombs. It is just something wonderful that God made for us to enjoy and to survive with.
If Mayberry had a radio station, boy, your mind races real fast to images of Barney and Aunt Bee and Goober and the whole crew. That's our slogan here at WLAF. Hi, my name is Jim Freeman. I have the great pleasure of working at WLAF every day. It's a true passion. We have a lot of fun here, and everybody who works here brings that passion to work with them every day. We love what we do. We hope it shows. And what we do is serving our community, hopefully to the best of our ability every day. And I know some days our best is not good enough, and some days we fumble. But we give it a great shot every day here at WLAF. And our goal is to serve our community. I know that sounds kind of cliche-ish, I guess, but that's what we're here to do. And we do that every day, trying to serve our community to the best of our ability, mainly through information, weather, sports, music, breaking news. We're up early, staying out late, 7 days a week, holidays, weekends and such. And we do it with a passion, and we do it for you, our sponsors, our listeners, our viewers, because you support us. You know, you show us in many different ways that we are important to you because you are important to us. So a small town doesn't have a lot of information, but we do our very best to get that information and send it out every day in a timely manner, hopefully a very efficient manner. But that's small town radio, and that's what we're doing. Not every small town has a radio station. If Mayberry had a radio station. One of our campaigns is My Radio Station. We started this probably a decade ago. A sponsor had said something, and my thought was, wow, he acts like he owns the radio station. And I thought, well, wait a minute. He does. He's a sponsor. He supports us. He does own the radio station. That's where this campaign began, with My Radio Station. We have listeners and viewers and sponsors on the air all the time saying, hi, this is my name, and you're listening to My Radio Station, WLAF, because it is your radio station. You invest into it, whether you listen, read, view, whatever, sponsor. It is your radio station, and it is our great honor to serve you every day here. If Mayberry had a radio station, WLAF.
My name's Jennifer Hoffman, and my farm is Lightning Jar Farm, and we're located in the Martyville neighborhood of La Follette. We're on a peninsula right in the middle of Norris Lake, not too far from Norris Dam and Anderson Boat Dock, but we've got 15 acres here. I grew up originally in the eastern part of Massachusetts, in a farm that was 14 acres. So some of the plants that grow here in East Tennessee, some of them have monetary value that you can use to get a little extra income, or just to use in your own life to, feed yourself or to help yourself out. And so how to identify those plants and what are some of the possibilities? There's a lot more than what I can mention. Just a few words of caution. You got to have some awarenesses around this. Number one, I guess, would be make sure you get landowner permission before foraging on their property. Keep it friendly, keep it going in the right direction. But also that there's ticks and other little critters you got to watch out for. You don't want to get bit. So make sure you take precautions against ticks, and make sure you fully identify what you're foraging for. Take some time to educate yourself. Some plants have lookalikes that are dangerous, and some parts of some plants should not be consumed. So make sure you understand what you're picking before you consume it or use it. I'm standing underneath a black walnut tree. It's one of my absolute favorite trees in the landscape here. One time was a major cash crop for people in the southeast. There are actually still companies that are consolidators and producers of black walnuts, and they use walnuts that are harvested from the wild from neighbors like you and me. Predominantly in North Alabama and North Georgia, you can see that they stop at co-ops and they have shelling machines, and they purchase harvested walnuts by the pound. I'm holding here a nut that has fallen to the ground, and what you can see, it's pretty dark. One of the properties that they have is that the hull can be used as a dye, and if I hold it too tight or for too long, I'm going to wind up with dark brown stains on my hands that probably won't come out for several weeks. It can be used to dye fabrics and yarn. It can also be boiled down to make an ink. The hull is often used as an anti-helmithic. We've got a nice little bramble going here with several interesting species of plants. One of my absolute favorite is the passion flower vine, which is a native of the southeast, and it grows freely all over the warm areas of the southeast region. One of the neat aspects of it is it's not only a beautiful ornamental flower, it is also bears passion fruit, which is an edible. When you see passion fruit drink in the store, this is what it's made of. There are several people that grow this in an orchard setting with trellises, and you can grow the vine for both flowers and delicious fruit. Also in here we see again the blackberry bramble, which this of course makes blackberry fruit in early June. You can pick that in this area by the gallon. It's a delicious fruit that can be made into so many things. So here we are in the orchard, and we've got some antique apples here, but one of the interesting things that we can see growing on the trunk is Usnia Lichen. Usnia is also called old man's beard, and it's a medicinal lichen that can be used in preparations. It's an antibiotic. It's antiviral and antibacterial, and can be used in preparations to combat some sickness. So that's an interesting little lichen that is growing on the bark here amongst several others. Usually it's a symbol that you've got some pretty decent air quality in the area. Lichens really thrive in areas where air quality is on the good side. So I'm pretty pleased to see it here on this tree. And what we're trying to do in this orchard is to grow some antique apples, some historic apples that are coming from different areas. These have been rescued from overgrown lots and propagated by a group out of California. And our objective here is to plant apples that are coming from an area of the same climate conditions as Tennessee. So we have good success in their growth habits and their production. Historically speaking, apples were a number one crop, not for eating, but for cider production. A lot of the Europeans that came here, particularly the English, were really big on cider production. And originally, cider was more popular in colonial America than beer. And it was only after the influence of the people from Germany coming that beer became more popular. Of course, the English do produce beer, but cider was the number one alcoholic beverage in colonial times. Some of the things that are interesting that just pop up on their own is that we've got some ground cherries here. These are in the same family as tomatillos and tomatoes and potatoes, and some of these little dudes are edible. Not sure about these yet. They don't look like they're ripe yet, but we'll see maybe what those are. But those are just volunteers. They're just coming up because they like where they are, and they've got that little lantern around the outside, and they're just a very interesting little plant. You can also pick these and put those in a flower arrangement on your table. Ironweed is actually one of my fall favorites, late summer favorites. I like to pick large clumps of the flowers and make an arrangement with yellow goldenrod. Goldenrod gets a really bad rap on the pollen and allergen scene, but usually the culprit is ragweed, which is blooming at the same time as the goldenrod. So what you get is a really lovely bright yellow, bright purple flower arrangement for your table. Elderberry is really becoming popular right now for its medicinal properties. It's an antiviral, and it helps us out with colds and flus. And you can purchase it as an over-the-counter syrup at most of your pharmacies. It's It's a wild edible, and you can see the berries going for between $20 and $40 a pound dried. So they're quite a valuable crop that can be both cultivated in this area as well as harvested from the wild. Right beside it, we've got pokeweed, and the berries can be used as a natural dye. It makes a beautiful crimson Victorian Christmas red. And right behind it, we see a mimosa tree, which the flowers can also be harvested and made a medicinal tea out of those. It's a soothing tea, a calming tea. And then further off behind it, we can see some Staghorn Sumac. The berries are really well known as something that the birds love to eat in the wintertime. They're a bright red. Not to be confused with poison sumac. This is not poison sumac. This is Staghorn Sumac. The berries can be steeped in hot water to make a lovely pink lemonade flavored drink. They're very citrusy, have a ton of vitamin C, so if you feel like getting a little cocktail for yourself during the winter, you can make yourself some sumac tea. I love this land, I love this farm, I love this area, and I really enjoy living here and what's growing on this property, both what I plant and what is just naturally available here.
Welcome back, and I hope you enjoyed your time with Mr. Freeman, Miss Hoffman, and Miss Underwood. Remember to catch us again next month on the second Wednesday, October 14th at 8:30 p.m. right here on Channel 12 and 1450 WLAF. If you can't, DVR us, or also you can stream us online at WLAF, Postmark La Follette's website, or Postmark La Follette's social media. In the meantime, though, we need you to reach out to us and tell us what the next episode will be about, because you get to pick the content. It could be you being interviewed. It could be you interviewing someone else. So share your history, your family, and things you know that are special about Campbell County. Once again, we are in this together, and it's a total community operation that we're wanting to do here. Until then, here's Tony Branham and the Postmark Jamboree crew up at Indian Mountain State Park.
Appreciate your support for Postmark La Follette and Postmark Jamboree. And now back to Magnolia and Maple.
Okay, so Casey, along with a lot of other young people and maybe some other people, have been totally captivated by the Broadway musical Hamilton. It tells the story of how Hamilton and his bride-to-be met from the bride's perspective, from the first moment she laid eyes on him and through the wedding. You'll even hear the wedding march. And believe it or not, y'all get ready, because this is supposed to be sort of rap. Anyway, it's fun. So listen to the story and enjoy. Boy, you got me helpless. I look into your eyes and the sky's the limit. I'm helpless. You know I'm down for the count and I'm drowning in it. I have never been the type to try and grab the spotlight. We were at a rather with some rathers on a hot night. Laughing at my sister as she's dancing in the roof. When you walked in and my heart went boom. Trying to catch your eye from the side of the ballroom. Everybody's dancing and the band's top volume. Crying to the rhythm as we wine and dine. Grab my sister and whisper, yo, this one's mine. My sister made her way across the room to you. And I got nervous thinking, what's she gonna do? She grabbed you by the arm, I'm thinking I'm through. And you look back at me and suddenly I'm helpless. So look at those eyes. Your eyes and the sky's the limit. I'm not helpless. You know I'm down for the count and I'm drowning in it and I'm so into you. Look into your eyes and the sky's the limit. Oh, I'm helpless. Down for the count and I'm drowning in it. 1 week later, I'm writing a letter nightly. Now my life is better every letter that you write me. Laughing at my sister cause she wants to form a harem. I'm just saying, if you really love me, you would share it. Ha! 2 weeks later in the living room stressing, my father stone-faced while asking for his blessing, crying to the rhythm as we wine and dine, and I'm trying not to cry cause there's nothing that your mind can't do. My father made his way across the room to you. I panic for a second thinking we're through. He shakes you by the hand and says be true. Then you look back at me and suddenly I'm helpless. Look into your eyes and I'm down, boy, I got my helpless. You know I'm down for the count and I'm drowning in it all. I'm helpless. You know I'm look into your eyes and the sky's the limit. Yeah. Down for the count and I'm drowning in it. That boy is mine. That boy is yours. Dun dun da dun dun da da. Down for the count when I look in your eyes. Down for the count when I look in your eyes. Down for the count when I look in your eyes. Helpless.
That's it. That's our first show. We hope you all enjoyed it, and we hope to hear from you directly next month. One more time, we're going to throw up the information of how you can contact us because you get to pick the topics and what we're going to talk about in future months. So I hope to hear from you, and I hope to possibly see some of your videos. Thank you so much, and see you soon.